All right. Ted Williams. The stories behind the stories include 6 new glorious Ted Williams cards. Now, here's the deal. I'm turning 61 this month. 2 years ago, when I turned 59, my wonderful wife bought me three 1959 Fleer Ted Williams cards to celebrate my 59th birthday. Now, I kind of bought them and then informed her she had got them for me. Well, my most generous wife has doubled her gift for 2025 for my birthday this month. She bought me six 1959 Fleer Ted Williams cards. We're going to go through all 6. Let's do it. Oh, yeah. For starters, I got number 1 in the set, but before we check it out, there really should be an earlier card in the set taking us back to when Ted was delivered from the womb, because that is our first opportunity to see just what makes this newly minted human unique. When Ted was delivered, the first thing the doctor did was strike him on the buttocks repeatedly. Whack, whack, whack. This was a common practice in the day because life is tough. And so striking infants right out of the womb helped them toughen up and get ready for the challenges ahead. Typically, infants would be struck on the buttocks because of the commonly held belief it increases the chances they become professional athletes. Most newbies cry upon striking, but not Newbie Ted. To everyone's amazement, Newbie Ted responded to the doctor, "Strike 3, you're out." And that was the first indication Ted was special. And now let's look at card number 1 in an exceptionally minty 6, the early years. Check that beauty out. There's Ted with the green hair holding onto the bat. Exceptionally minty 6. Give you a chance to look at the back. By the way, I think what makes this an exceptionally minty 6, little factory paper wrinkle down here that does not show up on the front. If it did, it'd be right around there. Really, really sweet. Super sweet card. 59 Fleer, Ted Williams, number 1 in an exceptionally minty 6. Woohoo! All right, the story for card number 1. Ted was an excellent athlete in all types of sports, but by the 7th grade, baseball was his main sporting interest. But now, the story behind the story. Ted's friends ask, "How come when we put our hands on the bat, your hand always ends up on top?" Ted replies, "Because eventually I'm going to grow out of this green hair and become the greatest hitter that ever lived." And that, my collecting brothers and sisters, is the story behind the story. Oh, yeah. The early years, number 1. In an exceptionally minty 6 with minty green hair, the glorious number 1, Ted Williams, in the set. Oh, yeah. Then I got card number 3 for my birthday in a nostalgically minty 7. Oh, so nostalgic, so minty. I mean, is that vintage art? Look at that. Wow, I tell you what. Could just stare at this all day. Such a sweet card. So nostalgic, so minty, which is precisely why it got the grade of a nostalgically minty 7. Oh, what a sweet card. What a sweet card. I got to say, kind of like the Burke Ross, I used to think, I don't know. And same with these Ted Williams. I thought this is sort of, an inferior production here, the 59 Fleer compared to the tops. But I realized even though the images are not super sharp, I don't know, there's something about the colors, the pictures. There's just something really, I think, really cool about them. So once again, changing my mind in the hobby and saying, yeah, I guess these Ted Williams cards are okay, to saying, wow, these cards are absolutely glorious. Now, am I going after the whole set? Well, I like to get Ted Williams Playing Days cards, so I'm not going after the whole set, but I probably will keep picking up these cards, so before I know it, if I just keep picking them up before I know it, I'll probably be going after the whole set, but right now, I'm just enjoying this amazing, nostalgically minty 7. What a beautiful, beautiful card. All right, the story on card number 3. In the Sandlots, Ted has other kids pitch to him so he can practice batting. But now, something you'll never hear anywhere else, the stories behind the stories. Any connection with reality is purely coincidental. Ted's friends ask, how come we never get to hit? Ted replies, because I am going to become the greatest hitter that ever lived. Now, you guys will have a good life, but you'll become other things, like accountants and possibly later in life, Walmart greeters. And that, my collecting brothers and sisters, is the story behind the story. Practice makes perfect. Oh, is that one of the most beautiful vintage cards you've ever seen or what? And I tell you what, you don't have to pay that much for these beauties either. What a sweet card. Number 3 in a nostalgically minty 7. So nostalgic, so minty. Woohoo! Oh yeah. Now we are moving on to number 5, new pickup. In a never more minty 8. Look at that, Ted's Fame Spreads. That's Ted on the mound pitching, believe it or not. I kid you not, when I first saw that white dot right there, I thought it was like maybe paper loss or some sort of print defect. And then I realized, Adam, you silly pickle, that is the ball that Ted is pitching to the batter. Yes, indeed, Ted pitching. Here's the back. In a never more minty 8, the greatest hitter that ever lived actually pitching in card number 5. What's up with that? All right, the story on card number 5. As a senior in high school, Ted's fame spreads as he pitches his high school team to victory in a county championship. But now the story behind the story. When Ted saw that his fame was actually spreading faster than the flu, peanut butter, and even mayonnaise, it gave him even more confidence that he would become the greatest hitter that ever lived. And that, my collecting brothers and sisters, is the story behind the story on the Nevermore Minty 8, number 5. What a beautiful card. You can tell this is California with those palm trees in the back. Ted's fame spreads faster than the flu, peanut butter, and even mayonnaise. Woohoo! Oh yeah. Number 7 in a Nevermore Minty 8 from mound to plate, because hey, if you want to be the greatest hitter of all time, you're not going to do it on the mound. Now, are you? Look at that. These cards are so stunning. Maybe at the end of this video, I'll give you all the prices. But, I feel like these are just, incredible bargains. Let me show you the back. So the back has a story, but of course, in an exclusive expose, we're going to be looking at the stories we've been looking, and we'll continue to look at the stories behind the stories, because my viewers demand exceptional, mediocre content, and so we will look at the story behind the story for number 7 from mound to plate in a never more minty 8. So here goes the story. On the card, now that Ted is an organized baseball, his manager decides Ted is not cut out for pitching. But now, the story behind the story. Ted's manager thinks to himself, I will personally ban myself from baseball for life if I do not immediately remove the greatest hitter of all time from the mound. And that, my collecting brothers and sisters, is the story behind the story on how Ted got from mound to plate. Man, where else can you get a never more minty 8 for, hey, I don't know, maybe the price of a blaster. I don't know what blasters go for, but I'm having a blast with these. Woohoo! Oh yeah, 4 down, 2 to go. And now in a never more minty 8 All-Star Hero, 1941 Ted Williams. Man. Now those are those little, I think PSA was having some trouble with little cracklings coming into their slabs. But it does not impact this card. It's still never more minty 8. We got a story on the back if you want to pause and check it out. What a beautiful, beautiful card. But now, you know what's coming. You know what's coming. First, the story on card number 18. Ted's homer wins the 1941 All-Star Game for the American League. But now, the story behind the story. The other All-Stars are all thinking, hey, we are All-Stars too. So who the heck is Ted Williams to think he is the greatest hitter of all time? So Ted does not say anything. He simply lets the National League get ahead in the score, and he purposefully waits until the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs. Plus, he waits until he has a count of 2 balls and 1 strike, just to send a message that he has balls. Then Ted smashes a 3-run game-winning homer onto the roof of the 3rd deck in right field. Yes, this is all true. He smashed, well, this part's true, a 3-run game-winning homer onto the roof of the 3rd deck in right field. Ted turns to his fellow All-Stars. Hey, all of you All-Stars, hold my bats and weigh them for me while you're at it. And that, my collecting brothers and sisters, is the story behind the story of Ted Williams, the 1941 All-Star Hero. Had a pretty good season, too. Oh, yeah. How sweet is that? My friends, we are down to my last birthday pickup. Thank you, wifey, for being so generous. Number 54 in a nostalgically minty 7. Ted hooks a big one. I tell you what, I just love this card. I mean, I think it's so beautiful. So beautiful. So sharp. Sweet registration, which is, something I prioritize on cards for sure. That's kind of a deal breaker for me. I'm getting to the point where, depending on the card and how expensive it is budget-wise and so forth, and, where maybe I can only afford a 1 grade by really stretching it, and it's, they tend to have lots of condition issues in that grade, especially for, the older, further back you go with cards, where, I'm willing to accept more condition issues to make a card like that, happen in my collection. However, for me, registration, that's one of the non-negotiables. You got to have, for me at this point anyway, you got to have solid registration. I think this card is just absolutely stunning. And I think it's just, a really cool, really cool piece of Ted Williams history here. I mean, the dude was not just, an amazing ball player, but an amazing fisherman as well. So yeah, here it is. Number 54 in a nostalgically minty 7. So nostalgic, so minty, so beautiful. Ted hooks a big one. And I tell you what, when I landed this bad boy, I hooked a big one myself. So thank you, wifey. Woohoo! Okay, the story. The story on the card. Well, it's not on the card, but here's the story. The inside scoop. Other baseball sluggers simply cannot match Ted's hitting prowess, so they start telling fish stories to Ted in order to make themselves feel better. Hey, kind of an inferiority complex. I mean, I'd have one if I were hitting next to Ted. That is for sure. So they start telling stories like catching a 20-pound fish. But as time goes on, it's a 30-pound fish, and finally, a 200-pound fish story. Well, now, the story behind the story. Ted doesn't say anything. He simply goes out and catches a 1,235-pound fish. Now he has the weight of the fish, his name, and the date painted on the fish, which Ted is holding up with one hand in the picture. Check this out. He's holding this fish up with one hand. Look at that. That is amazing. When other baseball sluggers see the picture, all of their inferior and fictitious fish stories stop. And that, my collecting brothers and sisters, is the fish story behind the fish stories. Oh, such a beautiful, beautiful card. All right, now we're going to run through the prices really quick. All of these were free shipping from the same seller, which I think had a recent order come back from PSA on these 59 Fleers. This was to the nearest dollar, $71 with free shipping. For this beauty, this exceptionally minty 6, I think the card number 1 in the set gets a premium. So $71 for card number 1. And now card number 3 to the nearest dollar, $31 with free shipping. It's price versus grade. Like, I wouldn't mind paying a little bit more for an 8, but, hey, $31 for a 7. I'm not sure I want to pay, necessarily, I don't know, $55, $60, whatever for an 8, when I can, get a 7 for maybe close to half the price. So $31 for number 3. And then number 5 in a Nevermore Minty 8 to the nearest dollar, $50 with free shipping. I love it. I love it. You can often get, for many of these cards in the set, around $50 for an 8. That's just insane to me. And how about this? Number 7 in a Nevermore Minty 8, $44 with free shipping. Absolute insanity. And number 18 in a Nevermore Minty 8 tells a pretty cool story of All-Star Hero Ted 1941. $51 free shipping. Sounds like a deal to me. Big deal. Sounds like a great deal. And finally, Ted hooks a big one. Let's see. This was $49 to the nearest dollar with free shipping. I think this card gets a premium. Maybe it's just more popular. So, $49, I really wanted a copy of this card. I figured, I don't want to necessarily spend, who knows, $80 or $100 for an 8. Happy to spend $49 for this 7. I'm not even sure if you could get an 8 for $80. I don't know, but price looked good to me, so I snapped this bad boy up for $49. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed my 6 new Ted Williams cards, as well as the stories behind the stories. All in good fun. Man, I love collecting Ted Williams. Just there's something about the dude, I really want that card in the set where he crash lands his jet. As I understand it, he didn't want to eject because that was really tough on the body, and he didn't want to mess up his, baseball career when he got back to baseball. So, yeah, the dude's got stories, that's for sure. And thank you for sharing in my joy. I hope you had a wonderful, peaceful, and fun time in the Vintage Sanctuary. Take care, my collecting brothers and sisters.